All right, we will call the full meeting of council to order. If you're able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Now pause for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Baker, absent. Councilmember Bixenstein. Councilmember Bullock.
Here.
Councilmember Evans. Here. President Keppel.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Here.
Councilmember Streebig, absent.
Without objection, I'll excuse the absences of Councilmembers Baker and Streebig.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held March 16, 2026.
Move to approve without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes. Without objection, I'd like to move items 7 through 9 to the top. Hearing none. All right.
Item 7, report from Councilmember Hamilton Steiner regarding March report from Animal Safety and Welfare Advisory Board.
Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel. Dear colleagues, LaSwab met on Wednesday, March 18th at 6 p.m. in their monthly meeting location at the East Conference Room in Lakewood City Hall. The group celebrated the passing of the TNR ordinance by Lakewood City Council, and as of the meeting time, is waiting for the ordinance to be signed by Mayor George, which has now been signed. ACO Crumley provided his monthly metric of and status update of animal intakes at the shelter. If people in the community have the capacity to adopt, they are encouraged to come to the shelter and check out the available animals. The Lakewood Animal Shelter, with the financial support of CLAW, supports medical procedures of animals taken in. The group is focusing on planning their fundraising event for May. The date has not yet been scheduled. Once the date is settled on, they will be looking to recruit volunteers. Social media content was also discussed, and plans for online engagement to grow awareness and educate the public on animal issues were considered. During this discussion, it was also shared that the second full week of April is Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. Based upon members' interest in recognizing this week, Councilmember Streibig and I have introduced a resolution to honor and celebrate our animal control officers. I move to receive and file this communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 8, communication from Councilmembers Hamilton Steiner and Streebig regarding Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week.
Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel. Dear colleagues, Mayor George, and directors, the National Animal Care and Control Association designates annually the second full week in April as Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. This is a time to recognize the professionals who serve Lakewood and work hard to protect and care for animals, and in so doing, keeps our community safe. Animal control officers are very much first responders, sometimes responding to situations of cruelty, intervening when needed, and working to rescue animals. They are the voice of the voiceless, speaking on behalf of the animals. Lakewood's animal control team works closely managing the Lakewood Animal Shelter and works with Lakewood Animal Safety and Welfare Board, LaSwab, and Citizens Committee for Lakewood's Animals and Shelter, CLAWS. Together, animal control and shelter staff ensure that the public is safer through the proper care and safety of animals in Lakewood, and working with CLAWS, being provided with financial support for medical care costs, while LaSwab focuses on advocacy, awareness, education, and fundraising efforts to support pet families with their pet food needs. We encourage all to join us in celebrating Lakewood's animal control team.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 9, Resolution 2026-20, a resolution to join with the National Animal Care and Control Association to designate April 12, 2026 to April 18, 2026 as Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week in the City of Lakewood, and to recognize the dedicated work performed each day by Lakewood's animal control officers.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel. I am happy to co-sponsor this resolution with Councilperson Streibig and happy that a LaSwab member brought Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week to my attention. Lakewood's ACOs are truly wonderful human beings doing the hard work of protecting both animals and humans. This is not easy work, as animals that may be victims of inhumane conditions are not able to speak for themselves, so the human caretakers and these officers speak for them and serve as their advocates, educators, and protectors. Through collaborative efforts with the Lakewood Animal Safety and Welfare Board and Citizens Committee for Lakewood's Animals in Shelter, ACOs ensure that animals brought into the animal shelter are taken care of, nursed back to care when needed, and prepared for adoption. In just my short time serving on council, and now as council liaison to LaSwab, I've seen just how much Lakewood and the ACOs care for these animals. Lakewood is truly special, and our ACOs are no different. Thank you for your service. The vulnerable population of Lakewood residents, our animals and animal population, thank you too.
Thank you. Other council members?
Madam President.
Councilmember Bullock.
So thank you to my colleague, Councilwoman Hamilton Steiner, and in absentia, Councilwoman Striebig, for bringing this up. And really, thanks to the leadership of the animal advocacy community and the city, the administration, and Officer Brumley, and Gary Crumley, and Officer Kerr and Burkowski for all you do. In addition to the companion animals, there's quite a lot of wildlife in Lakewood, and there are times when we get calls, what are we going to do about the foxes along the lake, or the deer, or the wild turkeys, or the skunks, there's quite a lot going on. And in my neighborhood, I'm happy to report the Easter Bunny lives, and maybe multiple Easter bunnies, to my kids' delight. So the fact that the city invests more than just a little bit of resources is, I think, meaningful, and another part of Lakewood stronger than the minimum approach to how we serve our community. And then once again, I think we said this in a recent meeting, that the community then does a handshake with the city government by adding humaneness in the care and the standards and the resources that are available, especially to companion animals, but across the board. So I do agree, it's really worth celebrating all of that. And this has been going on for years, predates all of us, which I'm happy to say. So it's a distinguishing positive that our community cares so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bixenstein.
Thank you, President Keppel. Thank you, Councilperson Hamilton Steiner and Councilperson Striebig, for bringing this to us this evening. You know, Lakewood is one of, if not the most densely populated cities in the state of Ohio, and it's also very densely populated with pets. Our ACO does a tremendous job of protecting animals and people, and they're performing an essential community service. I firsthand have benefited from having my dog get out of, you know, the kid leaves the fence unlatched, and suddenly the dog's in the park, and I've had ACO help me before. And the only thing I cannot agree with Councilperson Hamilton Steiner is the voice of the voiceless, because my dog most certainly has a very loud voice. But no, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention, and thank you, ACO members, for all you do for our community.
And I'll just add to that Animal Control Supervisor Crumley also served the city previously as a police officer, and so we just want to acknowledge their continued service. And I have witnessed firsthand his both professionalism and compassion and willingness to work with the citizen volunteers, and it's very much appreciated, as well as the other ACOs. My family's had the opportunity to adopt 2 cats from the animal shelter. They're both awesome, and were well taken care of before we got them, and have put on a few pounds since then. But are, you know, we're really grateful for the service of the animal control officers. So thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, here, after I presume we will adopt this, having heard the comments, once we vote on this, we do have a ceremonial copy, so we'll invite, I see ACO Crumley, and then anyone else who'd like to join us up front. I see some CCLAS folks, LaSwab folks, so if anyone would like to join us up front, we'll get a quick picture before we go on with the rest of the meeting. All right, with that, on the motion to adopt, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. All right, we're going to take a Before we go on, we actually do have someone signed in for public comment on this topic. So before we do that, I'd like to invite up Nancy Binder.
Okay, I'm Nancy Binder. I'm the chair of LASWAB. We work with Gary quite a bit, and Gary is responsible for my newest little addition, a mall sheet that was left on Lake Road and Forest Road. Just kind of left. And he is getting a lot of dogs that way now. So I hope the city can realize that's a new issue that the city has and that he's handling it very, very well, compassionately, and making sure they go to the correct or loving homes. Gary had a very unusual start to his job. There are 3 employees in the department. 2 were retiring, and the third one left for another opportunity as he started. So he had the ultimate blank slate of a department. Fortunately, Jack stayed and trained him a bit, but that is a difficult thing to do. His detective skills, I think, helped because his patience is extraordinary with everyone. He has built the staff to the current staffing. He does not know this, but I have talked with almost everybody that has worked there and has stayed or left. Everyone has said nothing but nice things. They have all told me in the exact words, they like having him as their boss. And he's also a mentor to his staff. And he helps them make personal decisions. He helps them doing what's best for them. He is a kind, compassionate person with everybody he works with. I want the city to recognize that with this award as well. He has guided LASWAB through a very arduous task of getting a TNR ordinance changed. That was not an easy task for anyone. Gary kept us online on cities do have rules, and that is where what we will follow. We'll do what we can to guide the ordinance, but we were not going to dictate an ordinance, although it did. But I want to let the city know that some people really, truly, and sincerely deserve recognition, and Gary is the one who does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 1, report from Finance Committee, meeting held March 23rd, 2026.
Since Vice President Baker is absent tonight, I'll read this for him. Dear colleagues, the Finance Committee met on March 23rd to continue conversation on 2 ordinances. The first was Ordinance 15-2026, which proposes to establish a new fund within the city budget into which new revenues related to the sale of cannabis shall be deposited. The committee discussed language that would limit expenditures from this fund to certain health and safety-related purposes and introduced a substitute version based upon discussion at the previous meeting. Additional amendments were made to the substitute version to ensure that the language was specific and permissive enough to include the needs of the Department of Human Services. The committee also expressed a desire to closely monitor expenditures from the newly established fund over the next few years. Director Mahoney agreed to provide this information in the future for committee discussion. Next, the committee addressed Ordinance 27-2025. As originally introduced, Ordinance 27-2025 proposed to eliminate the city's audit committee. Based on previous discussion in committee, the committee moved to approve a substitute version that instead of eliminating the audit committee, assigned the Finance Committee to serve as the audit committee and requires an annual post-audit public meeting with the Director of Finance and the auditor. One minor technical amendment was made to the substitute version. Committee members noted that holding an annual post-audit public hearing will bring more attention and transparencies to the city's annual audit processes and potentially engage more members of the public. Notwithstanding the city's recent outstanding audits, the committee agreed that the proposed revised process would be beneficial. Both substituted and amended ordinances were recommended for adoption by council. I'll move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 2, substitute ordinance 15, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately to enact section 12965 of the codified ordinances entitled Host Community Cannabis Fund to provide guidance regarding the use of new tax revenues related to the sale of cannabis.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 3, substitute ordinance 27, 2025, an ordinance to take effect immediately, amending Chapter 160, Audit Committee of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Lakewood.
So this one, there were, between the committee meeting and tonight's meeting, we found a couple just sort of typo-y clarification kind of things. So for that, if we open up the ordinance and you look in the third whereas clause, so this would,
Yeah, Madam President, I think
thank you.
I think you had the right.
Okay, all right. So I don't need to,
Which one do you want me to pull up? This one needs to be moved to amend. This one was not recommended out of finance. Yeah.
sorry, I'm just getting some clarification. Okay, so yeah, so the substitute in Granicus has, council members are looking for, has the changes. So it would be in the third whereas clause, adding the functions of the audit committee there, and then would also have and replace and strike dissolved prior to year end when the volunteer terms expire, which was in the original, and replace with assigned to the city council's finance committee for efficiency and transparency. So these were just sort of left over from the previous version. So it would read then instead in that whereas clause, provide for the usual daily operation of the city in that the functions of the audit committee should be assigned to council's finance committee for efficiency and transparency.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'll move that the version recommended by committee be amended to include the changes that you just explained in the third whereas clause.
Thank you. I will second that. Any further discussion?
Madam President?
Yes.
So if I read this correctly, as you were explaining, I think the other red lines in this document, if we scroll up and down, those other red lines are already included in the committee recommended version. So the only new proposed amendment in the amendment I just made and you seconded is that language in the third whereas clause.
That's correct. So it doesn't fundamentally change the language of the ordinance. It's just clarifying that third whereas clause had the language of the previous version. So it's just
Okay, thank you. And I'm, of course, happy to support my motion and appreciate that these points were identified and caught.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion on the motion to substitute? All right. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes. And then I will move to adopt as substituted.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Madam President?
Councilmember Bullock.
So just reflecting on the committee work, I want to thank Finance Director Mahoney, who is not here. Director Mahoney right there. No, well, Assistant Director Eddy is also a member of a crack department, and I thought the Finance Committee did a lot of substantive and thoughtful work in both this and the preceding ordinance. And I appreciated the collegiality. We are essentially setting ourselves up in this and the previous ordinance to have a thoughtful pair of budgeting tools going forward on some new revenues and then on reviewing all revenues here. And so I appreciate the high level of skill that we're proceeding with. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to adopt, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 4, report from Health and Human Services Committee held March 23rd, 2026.
That would be Councilmember Streebig.
President Keppel?
Yes.
Councilmember Strubik had asked me to read.
Oh,
the
great.
report, if that's okay.
Yep, Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Okay, perfect. Dear colleagues, the Health and Human Service Committee met on Monday, March 23rd, 2026 to hear the presentation from the Community Health Action Team, CHAT, on their annual report. CHAT has identified 5 priority areas from the Community Health Needs Assessment of 2022. Access to behavioral health, food access, a community resource guide, adaptive and middle school programming, and housing. We had an engaged discussion on 3 of the priorities, received the latest edition of the resource guide for personal review, but due to time constraints, missed the report on housing. This report could be a presentation to the Committee of the Whole from the Planning Department at another time. David Boz, Assistant Director of Planning, gave me an overview of CHAT and began the conversation with a description of this committee, stakeholders, and challenges. Kristen Broadbent of the Three Arches Foundation spoke about behavioral health, the Healthcare Providers Roundtable, the complexities of the healthcare system, and a collaboration with Case Western Reserve students to create the resource guide. Ms. Broadbent spoke about the possibilities of developing a co-responder program known as First Call, Crisis Assistance and Local Linkage that has been established in Shaker Heights, coupling mental health care professionals with first responders. She stated that the program has reportedly improved responses to mental health emergencies in that community and that the Health and Human Services Department will take over as the lead entity for coordinating behavioral and health initiatives. Assistant Director of Health and Human Services, Laura Jassely, spoke about the 25% county budget cuts to funding that are retroactive to January 1st, 2026. She and Director Berry are proactively assessing needs and opportunities for collaboration with more demand and fewer resources. Wait times for response to requests may increase as they continue to serve all residents. Kate Ingersoll from the Healthy Lakewood Foundation spoke about food access in the schools and exploring a new summer program at Harrison Elementary School. The reimbursement program for the program is complex, and they are working with community partners to address the logistics. Awareness of the Summer Electronic Benefits Transfer, EBT, needs improvement, as well as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. CHAT member Mark Walters from the Lakewood City Schools spoke about the special needs and middle school programming. The schools are providing adaptive swimming lessons and have partnered with the Empower Sports to expand the programs. Lakewood Recreation has 54 activities planned for middle school age students in addition to the H2O program this summer. Kevin Bourne-Crow from the Lakewood Family YMCA spoke and reflected on potential partnerships. After reviewing the Community Health Needs Assessment, he noted that the YMCA has been working on a lot of the same needs for a while now, and there is some overlap. All City Council members in attendance joined the conversations with enthusiastic support for the community needs and offered opinions and suggestions. Sincerely, Cynthia Strubik.
Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 5, report from Housing Planning and Development Committee meeting held March 30th, 2026.
Councilmember Evans.
Dear colleagues, the Housing Planning and Development Committee met March 30th, 2026 to discuss a communication from Assistant Planning Director Boss regarding the zoning refresh standards update. Assistant Director Boss provided an overview of the proposed changes to the zoning code regarding development standards that were discussed at the latest meeting of the Zoning and Planning Advisory Committee, ZPAC. He explained that the development standards will be addressed across 4 chapters, and that one of the goals is to make the development process more approachable for both individual property owners as well as developers. During the presentation, council members had the chance to ask questions and provide feedback on the direction of the proposed updates. Council members expressed interest in further exploring topics such as how the zoning code can be used as a tool to encourage affordable housing, how to address the garage requirements section of the code, and to strengthen regulations around sign standards. I encouraged all council members to share additional questions and feedback with me so that I can compile everything into one document that can be shared with the planning department for further consideration. Assistant Director Boss stated the next update to council will be placed on the June docket, and the final draft will be introduced to council in July. I'm very pleased with the progress and direction of the zoning refresh project and appreciate the administration keeping council updated on each project milestone respectfully submitted. And just as an aside, I'd like to say this is something not top of mind for most folks in the city, the zoning code, but this is a once in decades opportunity to shape how the city's going to look moving forward. So it's a very important project, and many thanks to the administration and to particularly the planning department for all the hard work on this. It's very much appreciated. Thank you. And I'll move to receive and file this report.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam President,
Councilman Bullock.
I'll just add my thanks. I think, Mayor and Planning Director Byington, I think the project's going well, and it's how do you eat an elephant type project, and the only way you can do it is a little bit at a time, steadily. And I know we've been doing these updates. For me, it's been beneficial because we're allowing ourselves a chance to dig in and also think about it and dialogue about it. So I think it's been a real model for how to take on a big strategic and difficult, not difficult, but just a large and high impact topic that really doesn't always get addressed, as Councilman Evans just said. So I'm appreciative of how it's going and the dialogue between council and the administration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? On the motion to receive and file the report, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 6, report from Committee of the Whole held March 30th, 2026.
So this Committee of the Whole, I had to be absent due to a family medical emergency, and Vice President Baker chaired it, but unfortunately Vice President Baker has been gone and has not had an opportunity to review this report. So I'm going to move to defer tonight's report. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 10, communication from President Keppel regarding Council's 2026 appointments to the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Dear colleagues, as you know, the Citizens Advisory Committee performs the important work of evaluating federal funds and matching them with community needs. This letter serves to make official the following appointments to the 2026 CAC. Based upon their professional backgrounds, commitment to Lakewood, and willingness to lead, I am confident that the above individuals are exceptionally well suited to serve in this role. With these appointments, Council has filled all of its vacancies on the 2026 CAC. I would like to thank my colleagues for formalizing these appointments in a timely manner. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I'll just say our thanks to those who are willing to serve and all who applied to serve. We look forward to their recommendations again this year. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 11, announcement from Councilmember Bixenstein regarding appointment to the Community Relations Advisory Commission.
Councilmember Bixenstein.
Thank you, Madam President. Dear colleagues, with this letter, I hereby appoint Ward 4 resident Pixie Mallow to the Community Relations Advisory Commission, LCRAC, for the remainder of an unexpired term ending December 31st, 2027. I had the opportunity to meet Pixie during the Ward 4 Council interview process and gained a great deal of respect for them, their diverse background, and their contributions to our community. I'm confident that Pixie will bring passion and commitment to this role, and I'm excited to see what's next for LCRAC with Pixie as part of this commission. Sincerely, Matt Bixenstein. And just to add to that, sometimes when you meet someone in an interview setting, it doesn't necessarily, it can be awkward, it doesn't necessarily make for a harmonious relationship, but in this case, Pixie's been very gracious and terrific to work with, and I've come to get to know them better and learn more about their background. Pixie is a veteran of the U.S. Navy and has a long 12-year career in management and leadership experience, and has also been extremely active in our communities. So I'm really excited that they're willing to take on this role, and I have no reservations in appointing Pixie to this commission.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and I'll just add, pleased to see that appointment. Certainly enjoyed Pixie's interview for that Ward 4 and thought that they had a lot to contribute, so I'm glad to see that opportunity. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 12, report from Councilmember Streebig regarding March meeting of the Community Health Action Team.
Councilmember Hamilton Steiner?
Thank you, President Keppel. Dear colleagues, on Friday, March 13th, 2026, the Community Health Action Team, CHAT, met for its quarterly meeting. Kate Ingersoll led the discussion to prepare for the CHAT annual report presentation to the City Council Health and Human Services Committee. The group answered new HHS Committee Chair Cindy Strubig's questions about the report and brought her up to speed on current developments and trends. Also included in the agenda and discussion were updates to the framework of the CHAT organization, 2026 priorities, and a work plan for the year. CHAT will be reorganizing around an updated conceptual framework rather than being held accountable for achieving specific outcomes. The new framework includes convening and coordinating across city departments, schools, foundations, and community organizations, identifying community health needs as they emerge, informed by the Community Health Needs Assessment, CHNA framework, advocating for action on priority issues, networking among community partners and sharing diverse perspectives to facilitate collaborative work, maintaining critical infrastructure like the Community Resource Guide that requires cross-section oversight. 2026 priorities include maintain the Community Resource Guide as a critical infrastructure connecting residents to available resources, sustain critical links between member organizations in support of continuing to advance the above transition items, as well as other community health issues that may be brought to the team by member organizations. Support emerging priority areas, including early learning center planning transition, involving key stakeholders in collaborative conversation to overcome entrenched thinking, LGBTQ+ resources and support, determining how to move forward collectively, and community-centered support for youth. Sustainable approaches to support programming that provides equitable access to opportunities for all families. Meet quarterly. Use the CHNA as a reference point to inform decision-making. Plan and conduct a 5-year update to the CHNA. Sincerely, Cindy Streetbig.
Thank you. I will move to receive and file that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We do have one e-comment that will be included in the record. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 13, report from Councilmember Streebig regarding March meeting of Community Recreation Education Commission.
Oh, great. Okay, we're changing it up. All right, Councilmember Bixenstein.
Dear colleagues, on Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, the Community Recreation Education Commission met at the Taft Center for Innovation. The meeting was called to order, and the coordinator of Community Recreation Education, Leslie Favor Krogman, gave a report. The spring-summer program booklet is being finalized, and registration is beginning. Volleyball and basketball winter programs are concluding, and spring softball, baseball, and soccer are getting started. Field maintenance has begun in preparation for a busy season, and meetings with the city are scheduled to coordinate this maintenance. The Community Leaders Breakfast is scheduled for March 19th, and the Purple and Gold Classic is on April 18th. Mark Walter gave a report on increased participation in basketball, softball, football, volleyball, and boys soccer. Girls soccer numbers were down, possibly due to the popularity of volleyball. Football numbers are up, but not at the middle schools, and therefore not at the high school. There is some desire to add flag football to 5th and 6th grade in addition to tackle football. They're exploring this option. Vice President Paul Porter gave a brief report on the facts of the upcoming school levy, including millage, percentages of property taxes received, and the voter registration date. Thank you, Cindy Streebig.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion, just because it was mentioned there about the voter registration deadline, that is tonight. So if you haven't, at 9 p.m., so if you need to update your voter reg, get that in. You've got a couple hours, or got 1 hour, less than 53 minutes. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 14, report from Councilmember Strubig regarding March meeting of the Lakewood Youth Council.
I'm Cindy this time.
Okay. It was very thoughtful of Councilmember Strubig to pass this along, so thank you. Councilmember Evans.
Dear colleagues, the Lakewood Youth Council met on Thursday, March 26th in the auditorium at Lakewood City Hall. Advisor Amy Chodson reviewed the Article 1 purpose statement and encouraged conversation to discuss the purpose of Youth Council. Are they providing a voice for the youth community? Are they interacting with and informing community leaders? Are they providing opportunities for youth development? Are they allowing for engagement with topics regarding youth health and safety, youth advocacy, community relations, and community outreach? The group talked about the youth forum that they held, the suggestion box at the community festival, surveys for youth bands to participate in competitions, and designs for bike racks. They have invited community leaders to attend and speak at the meetings and will better encourage other youth to join committees. After this discussion, the meeting was called to order by Mel Diemert. Environmental Committee Chair Danica Hertberger gave a report that she has been in contact with the Tree Advisory Board. Chair of Mental Health Committee, Era Lulo, reported that on the survey that she was preparing for a Battle of the Bands competition. The group helped her with creating a survey. Sean Miller proposed reconsideration of creating an advocacy committee. The group discussed the differences between the advocacy and outreach committees and voted to create this committee. Mel announced that attendance requirements will be reviewed by the executive committee, and Advisor Chodson reminded the group that new officers will be elected in June and to consider prior commitments before deciding to run for office. Sincerely, Cindy Strubig, and I will make a motion to receive and file this communication.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 15, communication from Finance Director Mahoney regarding 2026 second and third quarter transfer ordinance, 2027 tax budget, 2027 tax advance resolution, and 2027 tax rate resolution.
Filling in for Director Mahoney tonight is Assistant Director Eady.
Thank you. Dear President Keppel and members of Council, attached are the following items for your consideration. The 2026 second and third quarter transfer ordinances each reflect 25% of the total anticipated transfers between funds that were included within the 2026 appropriations. A resolution to allow the City of Lakewood Finance Department to submit the 2027 tax budget to the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer for review and approval to maintain the city's existing property tax rate of 17.4 mils. The tax budget is a projection of revenues and expenditures completed primarily to establish the city's existing property tax rate for the 2026 tax year, 2027 collection year, and is attached to this correspondence. The corresponding resolution must be adopted by City Council and submitted to the County Fiscal Officer on or before July 15, 2026, in accordance with the provisions of Sections 5705.28 and 5705.30 of the Ohio Revised Code. Also attached is a resolution authorizing the Director of Finance to request from the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer real and personal property tax and special assessment advances when collected and available to the city in 2027. Participation in the tax advance program enhances the city's cash flow management and funds invested amount. The County Fiscal Officer requires the city to file this resolution stating the city's intent to receive advances in 2027 prior to October 1st, 2026. Finally, attached is a tax rate resolution maintaining the City of Lakewood's property tax rate of 17.4 mils for taxes collected in 2027. Sincerely, Renee Mahoney.
Thank you. I'll move to refer that communication to Finance Committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes. And then I will move to suspend the rules to read items 16 through 20 together.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 16, ordinance 22, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds. Item 17, ordinance 23, 2026, an ordinance to take effect immediately authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds. Item 18, resolution 2026-21, a resolution to take effect immediately approving the tax budget of the City of Lakewood for the year 2027 and authorizing the filing of same with the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer. Item 19, resolution 2026-22, a resolution to take effect immediately, requesting the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to draw and the Cuyahoga County Treasurer to pay the City of Lakewood Director of Finance in advance of all real, personal property, and special assessments collected in the year 2027 in such amounts as may be requested and available. Item 20, resolution 2026-23, a resolution to take effect immediately, accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the County Fiscal Officer.
All right, I will move to refer items 16 through 20 to Finance.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Madam President,
Councilmember Berwick.
thank you for the referrals, and I look forward to the discussion. I know Director Mahoney's not here, but little bit of discussion tonight as a preview. So first, my understanding of the budget process, this is a routine annual ministerial series of, well, I'm referring particularly to the tax-related ordinances, portion of our revenue side of our annual city budget. And at least one of them, maybe two of them, are mechanical in nature about how the city and the county interact with each other and on what schedule. And we're annually affirming that we would like to continue the way that we collect our taxes. The tax budget, I think, has remained the same for years and years and years. So I believe what the Finance Department is doing here is simply introducing a series of budget ordinances or tax budget ordinances on schedule, on time, so that we can be prepared and discuss them with 3 readings well in advance of due dates, which are midsummer, correct? Sorry, Miss Eddy is saying yes. So the one kind of teaser or portion I'd like to prepare for discussion in committee is that the fact that these days tax costs are high, property valuations are high, really the latter because of the former, or I said that backwards, the former because of the latter, the high increase in property valuations was already underway in Lakewood, and then COVID hit, and so it's all the more people have been feeling affordability. So I know that's on some people's minds. So the question would be whether there's some strategic nature to this discussion this year that the city is contemplating or may contemplate as we get into this, as opposed to, normally our discussion has been, we want to make sure that we're traffic copying all of our budgetary ordinances correctly so that we're on track and we're prepared to be a good steward of funds and report and account for and audit all those funds. And I appreciate all of that. And the city's done a good job of that, more than good job, because we get annual audit awards. But in terms of what's affordable for residents and what the city's needs are, I personally am interested in digging into this a little bit without trying to decide beforehand where that could lead, but just reflecting on the high costs that we're seeing in our city, and if we may devote some analysis to that as it is reflected in these proposed documents, ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion on the motion to refer items 16 through 20 to the Finance Committee? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 21, communication from Public Works Director Gordon regarding 2026 Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Program.
Director Gordon.
Thank you, dear President Keppel, members of City Council. Excuse me. The city's Division of Streets and Forestry was awarded $50,000 from the 2026 Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Program. The 2026 program aims to provide financial assistance to eligible municipalities to help improve the impact of climate change, assist with reforestation efforts in Cuyahoga County, and reverse the trend of tree canopy loss. The Division of Streets and Forestry is committed to protecting and enhancing its urban tree canopy and will use this grant to help offset the general fund costs of the 2026 spring and fall tree planting program. The City of Lakewood plan at this time is to plant an estimated 350 to 400 trees throughout targeted residential neighborhoods, parks, and along public right-of-ways, with a focus on areas identified as equity zones and those with low existing tree canopy. This funding will enable the city to increase species diversity, accelerate planting efforts, and procure high-quality materials. Pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance, Section 111.14B, this letter serves as notice of our intention to accept these funds. Please let me know if you have any further questions.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication. Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? I'll go Councilmember Bixenstein first and then Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to say thank you to Director Gordon and the City's Division of Streets and Forestry for continuing your efforts to replenish our city's collective tree canopy. I know the spring planting, the trees are already in the staging area. It's a great sign of spring when you see them dropped off. And I know it's been a challenge, even with the fall planting and that early arrival of winter. But it is really appreciated, and it is really important that we continue to prioritize replacing our aging tree canopy as trees age out, as we deal with more volatile weather situations. And I'm grateful for this effort, and particularly with the focus on equity zones and low existing tree canopy areas. So thank you very much.
Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, I'll definitely concur with Councilman Bixenstein. This is critically important work for our community, so every dollar goes a long way. But I just want to point out, thanks so much to Director Gordon and your team for going out there and making sure we try to find every opportunity. And this just happens to be what before us, but I think this is something that's a culture of City Hall. All of our departments and directors are constantly out there trying to find every resource they can, and that's not something you find everywhere. I think it's way too easy to take for granted the dollars we manage to turn up for really important things that are taking away from our burden at City Hall. So thank you to all, though. Behind every one of these grants is a lot of work and a lot of background. Things aren't given, but it seems like every meeting we have, we're receiving more funding from a different group that some city employee spent a lot of time making sure that we get. So thank you to everybody, and really appreciate this work.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Just echo those sentiments. We always like to see money coming in rather than always just going up, so appreciate that.
Madam President.
Councilman Bullock.
The Tree Education Advisory Board is meeting this week. I wonder if we could refer this matter also to them for their consideration or an update on it, whether formally or informally. That thought occurs. And for Director Gordon, I've just got a quick question on, I appreciate the points you're making that funding would expand species diversity, accelerate, and also procure higher quality materials. Can you tell us what higher quality materials means, and where are the equity zones? Is there a map we can look at on the website as I try to Google that right now?
So you would have to go to the county planning department in association with this grant to define exactly what each of the equity zones are. But the city's plan at this time, as we have done in previous years, is to plant at least a few trees in each equity zone. So we try to hit, each one in the city. Obviously, some areas are a little bit more compacted than others. So we try to spread the wealth, we like to say, equally throughout all of the equity zones. What this money does is it assists with the allocations that we already have in place for tree reforestation every year. And what we try to do is just get the highest quality trees that we can. We've been using the same contractor for the past few years, so the sooner we can get an order in place and the sooner we can define where all these trees are going, the higher quality material we're going to get. So similar to what Councilman Bixenstein said, they're here. They're getting planted hopefully this week at some point. for the spring tree planting program. So we're rocking and rolling.
And so we can search up the Cuyahoga County plan, which I don't.
Yeah, I can send you what you need to have for that.
Okay, I'm just, I'm glad to hear of their thoughtful approach too, and that they're continuing to invest in Lakewood. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to receive and file the communication, all those in favor? Aye, and that motion passes.
Item 22, communication from Planning Director Byington regarding acceptance of 2026 Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities Grant Award.
Director Byington.
Thank you, Council President Keppel and members of Council. The Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities Access and Physical Space Award is intended to support accessibility improvements. Funding is crucial for helping serve the community in providing safe, welcoming, and accessible spaces that promote health, connection, and quality of life for people of all abilities. This year, Lakewood has been awarded $10,000 to support accessibility improvements at Winterhurst Ice Arena. Funding will be used to create accessible spectator seating areas, ramps, and wheelchair viewing spaces for rinks 1 and 2. Funding will also be used to make the second floor lounge and spectator areas more accessible for individuals with mobility impairments. The City of Lakewood is committed to removing physical barriers and ensuring that individuals with developmental disabilities and mobility challenges can fully participate in programs, events, and community life with dignity and independence. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. In discussion, I'll just echo those same things to the planning department and again for going out and seeking this funding. And I know as all the hard work on the Winterhurst improvements, Assistant Director Boss has been doing a lot of that work, and this continues the work on our ADA transition plan, which we have a lot to do, but I know that we're all very dedicated to doing it and like to see this work moving forward, so thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, on the motion to receive and file, all those in favor? Aye. And that motion passes.
Item 23, March 2026 Finance Department vendor reports submitted pursuant to Lakewood Codified Ordinance 11103.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. This is just our basically quarterly report from the Finance Department of purchases over a certain amount of money between a certain amount, just to have it on the record so it's easy for folks to find and look through. Any discussion on this item? Councilmember Hamilton Steiner.
Thank you, President Keppel. Just a little point of looking at like the fuel and gas, diesel. I'm sure, is that something that we're monitoring? Because I know we budgeted it for a certain amount. And is that something that we're going to be monitoring, just all that costs? And just watching that, I don't know.
I'm sure. I guess the question may be, how are we doing that? And
yes, thank you.
And I'm looking at the administration going back and forth. I don't know if Director Gordon, you want to, or Mayor George, or
Sure, I can speak on this. So yes, we continuously monitor that. And the pricing is set by the market price. We're not certainly set to a certain price, but it is monitored frequently to ensure that we are using the best methods possible to conserve on gas when needed.
Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilmember Bullock.
So that was not a planted question, but I have next week in Cleveland, there's a National Association of Fleet Managers who happens to have a conference in downtown Cleveland, and I've got the invitation. I wonder if I can get that over to you, Director Gordon, and your team. There's a big vendor hall. They've got all kinds of efficiency equipment. The idea would be we change an operating cost into a better asset that reduces the exposure to Middle Eastern inflation due to global conflict and all kinds of other pressures on fossil fuel gas prices. So is that potential of interest if I get that over to you? There's a free portions of that event to attend.
You're more than welcome to send it over. I can't make any guarantees with our current workload. However, yeah, we could certainly take a look at it.
Thanks. All right. Or Mayor, if you're interested in as well. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a good point. I just, having just recently switched to an electric vehicle, and it's good timing. I had to fill up at a fast charging station, and it was I think $14 for an entire tank, if you think of it that way, which is quite a bit cheaper. Anyway, we have a motion and a second to receive and file the vendor report. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. We are at public comment. All right, so, yeah, we do have one e-comment. That'll also be entered into the record. And then we have a couple folks signed in to speak. And first up is Robert Organ. Welcome back.
Howdy, partner. I can feel the collective eye roll as I'm welcomed back after a long stay of absence. I don't have class on Monday nights, but I'm real busy with homework, so I did have to take a couple hours out of my day away from homework to come in here, talk about everybody's favorite topic. You know, I saw over the weekend that the person that killed Bill Saffos was only sentenced to 7 days in jail and a 5-year license suspension, and it feels really gross to me to be even thinking about advocating for a longer jail sentence, but I think we could probably all agree that 5 years is not long enough for somebody to not drive after they've killed somebody in their car. That said, I know that you all, City Council, you don't have much control over the sentencing and those things. What we do have control over is policies and our built infrastructure here in Lakewood. We know that the built environment is the only thing that can really meaningfully change driver behavior. Policies that you could put in place that would cost nothing or next to nothing could be something as simple as the Idaho stop, or changing the signal timing so that pedestrians and cyclists can get ahead of traffic at stoplights. But we could also be making changes to our built environment through daylighting of intersections. I don't know how many times I've sent emails saying like, hey, this intersection is really dangerous because cars park too close to the intersection. People can't see. Drivers have to pull, further out into the intersection, et cetera. And I'm told that it's an enforcement issue. But I've also been told by the person in charge of enforcing these things that it's not a big concern for them. I was laughed at via email, if you can put it that way. And even if it was a concern for them, the police cannot possibly react quickly enough to enforce an Amazon truck parked in the bike lane, or an Uber Eats driver stopping to run in and grab food. But those things make real danger at our intersections for pedestrians and bicyclists, and every day that those things are allowed to continue and no meaningful action is taken is another day that somebody like Bill Saffos or me or anybody else in this community could be hit and killed by a negligent driver, or by somebody that thinks that they have the right of way and they're not going to slow down for anything, whatever. It's really sad to see that this person is going to be driving in 5 years, probably less. I mean, there's nothing really to stop him from getting behind the wheel of a car in 3 weeks, as long as he doesn't get caught. I don't know. But the way I see it, like, you have 3 ways of getting me to stop showing up. One is to get behind the wheel of a car and kill me, which probably nothing would happen, as we've seen. Hopefully you don't choose that. I don't think anybody here wants to. The second would be to pay for me to keep going to school so I'm too busy to show up to city council meetings. I would love to get a PhD. That'd be cool. The third would be to take some meaningful action. Start with daylighting intersections. It's easy. It costs next to nothing. And you know, if it doesn't work out, if the public doesn't like it, or if it doesn't create some real safety, then you can take it out. It's quick and easy. But that would be just a super great start to making our community safer for all people on their streets instead of just people in cars. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, next is Furman. Is that right? I'm sorry, I apologize. Fermin, thank you.
Yeah, Rusty here, he basically said everything I was going to say. I was just advocating for this sort of situation to be taken more seriously and safer streets. And it's 7 days. It's too short for what for what happened. And something we need to do something about this in policy change and making everything safer for everyone on the road. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then finally, Michael Griffin-Meyer. Actually, I know Michael, and he is not here, so he already left. All right, so
Madam President?
Yes, Councilmember Bowles.
Just a comment in response to the residents who just comment. First of all, thank you for being here to talk about an important issue. And I know for a fact that there were leaders in City Hall upset about the verdict. And I'm going to say that because I think the professional decorum of, you know, I represent the city, but I'm not an executive officer of the city who has to sign legal documents or law enforcement orders. They're keeping their decorum and not editorializing on a judicial ruling, but I know for a fact that there are members of our city government who share the desire to have a longer sentence and a more serious consequence. That's number one. Number two, I take your points, Mr. Organ, about design. I also think, in fairness to any one City Hall department, there's a overlay of multiple things that have to happen. There's enforcement, there's traffic signs and signals, but there's also planning in what the street design and the parking design is, and then there's what the rules and laws are and the ordinances are that this body determines. So there's multiple leadership roles and responsibilities, and sometimes the overlap works great, and sometimes it may lead to a little bit of a slowness or timidity, or the classic problem of a ball in a baseball game falls between two outfielders because we each think the other's got it. So we want you to keep coming. So thank you for your uncompromising expectation to make the city better and the community better, and to challenge us all to make the streets safer for all users. So, and I'm sincere in that. Thank you. And to both of you.
Thank you. We do want you to keep coming, but we don't want you to keep coming because there's another tragedy. So, well, I'll just say that this body has been very active about working on complete streets legislation, the case advisory board, but that doesn't mean that that's the end of the work. That's just the beginning of the work. So, and I think everyone up here shares the concern for sure. All right, that is everyone I have signed in to speak. Did anyone else wish to speak this evening? Okay, announcements from council members. Councilmember Bixenstein.
One quick announcement. I know we already spoke about trees, but the Lakewood Tree Giveaway Program launches its third year this week. Online ordering goes live 10 a.m. this Wednesday. Any Lakewood resident is eligible for a free tree for private yard planting. Check out the city's socials for more information, or visit arborday.org/LakewoodOH.
Thank you. Other announcements from council members? No? Announcements from the administration? All right, seeing none, with no further business before council, without objection, we are adjourned.